control what happens before you, and ultimately you just got to identify players that fit your team, fit your wants, how you want to play. And he was somebody that we identified, and we were really excited to have. We knew it would be close. We knew it would come down to, a few spots where with either right before we picked or right after we picked, and you're holding those tense moments, and then you look up and you're excited that you got somebody.
How did you kind of balance, or how do you balance just thinking about his fit, both in the immediate and long term? Should either one of those weigh more heavily for you, or just kind of how do you think about it?
Yeah, we look at those as both just positives. To your point, I don't know that in terms of the tackle guard, that dynamic. I think you just want football players who give you options at both. I think he was credible at tackle, which I think gives him even more ability to come back inside and be a really good player. So ultimately, we're going to show up and get our best 5 football players in the field. This is a competitive environment, as it always will be. So we're going to line them up when they get here and see who's the best 5 and go from there.
You guys did not keep it a secret that you wanted to improve the interior of the offensive line, but did you imagine, was it realistic to think you would hit on 3 guys like this?
Every time you go into the offseason or any planning exercise, you set a vision, and then here are the names and options you have, and it comes down to, where's the relative value of different options and different things like that. So we knew we had a chance, but ultimately you can't plan the future, and there was a couple picks there where you're not sure what's about to happen. I know you can tell by your text afterwards, he was highly sought after. And so there was a chance that I was standing here giving a different person, but I'm glad I didn't have to.
Only 1 quarterback went in the first 24 picks. There might only be 2 taken in the first round. Does that kind of justify everything you did last year to get your guy?
I appreciate that question. I don't really walk the earth trying to justify things I did. Same. I'd probably say the same thing. We go into every decision knowing exactly why you do something, the intent behind it, the collective and collaborative environment we create where we know what we're doing, and you can live with results either way, whether some team does something that makes you feel that or not. But ultimately, last year we were really excited to add a quarterback of JJ's talents, get Dallas, do it the way we did it. I think there was a sort of a formula that we used that others might emulate. I don't know. And then this year set us up to be where we're at, and we're excited to be where it is. Quarterback's such a hard thing, right? So, all the years where there's maybe only 2 quarterbacks or whatever, we don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, how good these guys are going to be. So I don't want to speak to say that, anything we did justifies what others might have done.
You said you identified him or Donovan early, during the college season, or how early are you talking?
Well, he's been talked about, he was thinking about coming out a year before, so I had done him for a previous draft. And what's a really good thing with him is you saw because of that process, and obviously our scouts have been talking about him since they go in the schools for a long period of time, but you saw the year-over-year improvement. You saw glimpses, and then this year was that year where you really saw it all start to come together. And then, I said earlier to somebody, you saw a really reactive, good foot athlete. Then he moves out to tackle. It's almost like an out-of-sample test in a sense. And you see him go into that big space area and see him his first game against Abdul Carter, and even when somebody gives up a hit, you still get to see the type of athlete they are. And so that was kind of exciting for me to see that and be like, yeah, that was the kind of athlete I really believed was under the hood. And we'll give him a chance to compete in our 5, but we're excited about the caliber of the player we got.
Kwesi, obviously the season ended the way it did, but how much of the offensive line upgrade was done with the mindset of you have a young quarterback and you want to make sure things are settled in front of him?
I think that's important. I can't say that, when we go into these meetings, when in doubt, support the young quarterback is not something we talk about. But also, great offensive lines are team lifters. They control the ball, they keep your defense fresh. They establish a play style, a demeanor that we want to be about. So, the quarterback is always something you should be a quarterback-driven organization. That's something you should think about, but it's also other things.
Kwesi, with only having 4 picks, is it tempting?
I hadn't heard. Is it only 4 picks?
Was it tempting at all for you to try to generate more? At that.
No, I can understand that. I said to our group, I was a golfer in high school. I was okay, wasn't great, but when you start to get good at golf is when you start removing the triple bogeys from your round, the double bogeys. And how do you do that? Is you hit one in the rough. You don't take your 3-wood out and start hacking away. Maybe you take your 7-iron, play the lie, get 50 yards short, chip up, and get up and down for a bogey, worst case. And so to me, I think approaching this draft from a mindset of, hey, let's just hit, if the play is to hit the ball down the fairway, let's do that. If it's going to be 4 picks at 4 positions that we really want, 4 great character people, 4 skill sets we require, let's go do that, and we'll figure everything else out. So that's the mindset we've tried to approach and take. Whether other things happen later down the line, but we've kind of just gone from the let's whatever the course is kind of asking us to hit, we're going to hit that club out of the bag and see what happens.
Talk about positional value and scarcity with the first round. Why is guard worth this pick?
Yeah, it's, I think you've seen in the free agent market kind of the value that's been assigned to it. I don't know that the market's going guard, tackle anymore. It's just protector. These guys, they're bringing their more athletic guys to rush you on the interior, that the interior guys are getting more athletic. So in theory, the other guys should be getting more athletic and more skilled as well as that market goes up. So I think that's a part of it. And again, same thing with, I think, football moves in these cycles, like pleated pants and flat fronts. It's now the run game's cool again, right? And so we're going back to it and getting the foundation, the roots of the run game. Always start with those interior guys, and that could be a part of it as well.
Kwesi, your 4th draft doing this, does it get any easier, or you get more comfortable, or is it always just really stressful?
I don't want to say really stressful, because you prepare. You can't prepare for the worst case scenario. I probably prepare for the 6 worst, but I don't know if you compare for the absolute. So in some sense, you get yourself comfortable with the worst thing that can happen. So I don't know that it's stressful in that regard. You're obviously rooting for some good things to happen or not. The hardest part about it is you don't do it for a year. In my old job, you trade it every day. So the emotional toll it takes, you just get used to it. This kind of thing, you kind of every year it's like this. Remember this, hey. In the bottom third of the first round, the dynamic picking, 23rd like we did a couple of years ago, 24th versus 10th, it's just completely different, right? You're just, again, the result of having a good season is that you have to do that sweating, and I'll sign up for that every year.
Just what is your feeling when you see a couple guards go in the middle of
Yeah.
the draft, and how do you kind of process that as you're hoping that
Yeah.
Donovan's gonna do that?
Hope is not a strategy, I like to say. So we were kind of prepared for it. There was kind of a gauntlet of teams that maybe needed them. And if you think about free agency, the markets that got bid up, there's teams that didn't get the player, right? So you have to assume that those are teams that might be in it for these guys. And we knew that, and there was good players in his class. But ultimately, we were really excited that, we thought Donovan would be there at this pick level. We weren't sure, but we thought we'd have a good shot kind of right at this level. We're excited at the player we got.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
know you guys had a chance to, hear from Kwesi. We're really excited about Donovan Jackson. The process that I think that led to selecting him tonight, really well done by our group and the collaboration of everybody involved. And can't wait to get him here. Guy that is yet another national champion that we're able to select in the first round from a program that played in a lot of huge games and against some of the best competition that college football has to offer. And he had 40 starts and just love everything about his play style, his size. He's got length, he's got power. And then the little things that sometimes jump out at you about a player. Willingness to just jump over to the left tackle spot, and the very next week, he's blocking the third pick in tonight's draft and competing his tail off and didn't necessarily need to do that in a year where he was going to be drafted and evaluated the way he was. So a lot of things that we're very excited about. The idea of Donovan walking into that O-line room that now has some pretty impactful players across the board there, something that was a goal. And I think tonight really put a stamp on a plan that we set out to accomplish. So compliments to everybody, really excited about him, and I'll open it up to you guys.
Kevin, you mentioned that putting a stamp on that plan. I think we all heard you after the Rams game about the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah.
Was it realistic in your mind as the days progressed after that you could go boom, boom, boom and hit all three of those positions? Or is this exceeded what you thought might be reasonable?
Yeah, I think probably exceeded from a standpoint of free agency is always such a you can have all the wants that you possibly can after you go through the evaluation process. But the beauty of our last 2 free agent cycles has been being able to identify players and then getting the players to become Minnesota Vikings. I think it speaks to our players, what they've built here, the culture in our locker room travels. People know about it, players hear about it. But what that allowed us to do is really, with 2 really successful free agencies back to back now, that allowed us to really go into this with a mindset of adding the best available player that just happened to be also a player that fits a spot and gets into a competition now to really have a group that I think has a chance to be one of the better O-lines in football. And there's something to be said for where our division is and how we've learned over time how people defend us, and the ability to win consistently at the line of scrimmage is going to be something that I think bodes well for not only our ability to run the ball, but our ability to throw the football as well, when people feel like they've got to try to do different things than maybe they have in the past to defend us. And I think our skill players, the group we have, speaks for itself, whether it's at the receiver position, the tight end position, the running back position, all of which, when you're projecting and really looking at your group as a whole, with an identity of making each other's jobs, whether it is a receiver or a young quarterback, whatever it may be, we're trying to have the best possible group we can to be competitive no matter who we line up against. And I think Donovan gives us a chance to continue that progression through this offseason and now go to work, in addition to hopefully adding 3 more really good players the rest of the weekend.
So did you talk to Ryan Day about it?
I did, yeah. No, between Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, obviously, is the offensive coordinator. He's now in the NFL, so he was a little tight-lipped. But no, you could just say, having experience, knowing a little bit about the system. It was a few years ago, but, still some things that show up. And then I think the process, whether it's, initial interactions with him at the Combine, hosting him here on a 30 visit, where I got a chance to, in a one-on-one setting, just watch tape with him and really confirm a lot that was on tape, confirm a lot that you think about the player when he made kind of the switch that he did. What was that like? Why did you do it? And you hear, some really good things about his teammates, about the big picture, about how much they all meant to him, and what the team needed is what he wanted to do to help win. And I think that's validated in a player being in the kind of year, such an important year for him, and to be willing to do that. And then I think a great thing about evaluating Donovan is you got to see him playing against some really good players. And not only just at guard, when he made the move to tackle, I think the first start he had at left tackle this year was against the 3rd pick in the draft tonight, who we know is a special player, and the ability to show up and compete the way he did. I just think it speaks about who he is, his makeup. And then, he's a big, strong guy with length. And in our league nowadays, every single team, it feels like I talk to you guys every week, and it's another week where I'm talking about interior impact defensive players with length and explosiveness and athleticism. And you have to be able to combat that with, strength and the body type like Donovan has. And then envisioning him, being on a front with potentially Ryan Kelly and Christian Darrisaw, Will Fries and Brian O'Neill. That's a pretty formidable group on paper. We got to make it come to life on the grass.
Kevin, you mentioned the plan. Is that something that was kind of in your mind before that Rams game, or how much of that comes as a result of the way the Rams game went?
No, it's not a direct reaction to any one thing. I think the one thing in reflection of not only last year, but, my job is to constantly be an evaluator of, the totality of our time here, what it's been like for me personally as the play caller, directing the offense, but also how we play football games, how we play complementary in all 3 phases, and just looking at it from a standpoint of, what winning football looks like, and what being a team that is worthy of, competing to win a world championship, what that looks like, and scheme. And, it's exciting to draw routes up on a board and, come up with new ideas, and that stuff's been great. And we've done a lot of really good things here, but time and time again, you continue to think about the ability to get that yard, the ability to go be physical in every game you play, regardless of the opponent, the ability to have a collection of 5 guys up front playing as one with the type of skill sets and physical ability we have now gives me really good feelings about what we can be, not only this year but beyond.
Jim, what are the emotions for you on draft night, like in the lead up to a pick like that?
Yeah, it's it's funny. The draft starts and there's all these names on the wall and there's endless possibilities, and then they start going and it seems like those 10 minutes go by really fast, and there's another one and there's another one, and you just kind of get a picture, whether it's 5, 10, 15 picks out of what might look like at 24, and I was very, very excited to see Donovan still available when our number came up.
Any memes we should be on the lookout for?
Tried to, really go into this with a real game plan to be meme-free. But the draft is young, Kevin. There's a lot of time left for me to work my way in there. But I don't know. Maybe if it was possible for me to grow a mustache, maybe I'd try to join Kwesi here by Saturday afternoon or evening. But to be determined on that. Thanks, guys. Have a
We'll
good
let you
night.
know